Hello, my name is Gary. I'm here to read the Daily Reflections book for November 15th, 2023. Today it's called Vital Sustenance. Those of us who have come to make regular use of prayer would no more do without it than we would refuse air, food, or sunshine. And for the same reason. When we refuse air, light, or food, the body suffers. And when we turn away from meditation and prayer, we likewise deprive our minds, our emotions, and our intuitions of vitally needed support. That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, page 97. One version looks like this one. That particular one's a very old one, 2009, I think. Or it could be as old as 1953 or at the oldest one, 1952. Anyways, step 11 doesn't have to overwhelm me. Conscious contact with God can be as simple and as profound as conscious contact with another human being. I can smile. I can listen. I can forgive. Every encounter with another is an opportunity for prayer, for acknowledging God's presence within me. Today, I can bring myself a little closer to my higher power. The more I choose to seek the beauty of God's work in other people, the more certain of His presence I will become. Period. The end of the reading. So, vital sustenance. Let's read step 11. Or I'll read step 11 and you would listen, please. It's from the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, step 11 down here at the bottom somewhere. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. I bring that up because it's, as it says in the reading today, or in the quotation of in the reading today, the vital sustenance is prayer and meditation. And when we turn away from meditation and prayer, we likewise deprive our minds, our emotions, and our intuitions of vitally needed support. And it goes on to say that step 11 doesn't have to overwhelm me. Now, for me, this step 11, when I'm always looking for answers. Put it simply that way, in an overarching generalization, which typically aren't real good for things. Maybe it's a heuristic. It's just something that helps make me smarter. The meditation, here, let me put it another slightly different way. I'll start with prayer is talking to God, or my higher power as I understand Him. That gets wordy. And meditation is listening back for the answer. This would be the answer to these questions and the answers I'm always looking for in an overarching thing. Because basically I do not have anything figured out fully. I think I have a grip on some things. I'm an alcoholic. It's in remission right now. It has been it turns out I'll be coming up on 18 years sober in just about a month. December 4th will be 18 years of sobriety for me if I make it that long, another month of not drinking. So the prayer and meditation provide me with, like we were talking, or the book was talking about yesterday, intuition and inspiration. We ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. These are more of these answers that I'm looking for, like I just mentioned. Because I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time. how can I put this together? If I do pray for the knowledge of God's will for me, because I miss it occasionally, probably more often than not, I forget to pray and ask God what I should be doing with myself today, what I could do for the other man that still suffers, as these books point out. You know, when I was drinking, there were people, like the people I worked with, in their way, reaching out to me, trying to help me get sober. I didn't see it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't believe I needed it. So that was a huge problem. And now, let me work this in now. Today I can bring myself a little closer to my higher power. The more I choose to seek the beauty of God's work in other people, right there, the more certain of His presence I will become. So this prayer, talking to God, not being overwhelmed. And here's another thing. Let me put it. You asking for too many things, say. If you get, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, if you're concerned that all you're asking of God for too many things are going to dim the lights in heaven or something, that's not going to happen. You can't out ask or you can't outgive God, as I understand Him. So the more certain of His presence I will become during the prayer part of talking to God, and perhaps asking for forgiveness, for wisdom, let's just leave it at that for now. That isn't going to overwhelm God, and nor should it overwhelm you. A lot of times in life I can think, or let me make that even more accurate. A lot of times in life I think there's too many things I need to get done, I should be doing, and I don't feel like there's enough of me to get them all done. So it can feel overwhelming. And then if I do deny myself the prayer and meditation, I'll get more into that here if we have time, because typically I meditate every day for at least 5 minutes. A good amount of time for me is 15 minutes. Even better than that is about 25 minutes. And up to 40 minutes if I don't fall asleep. It is a very good, call it a reset of my brain, where perhaps I sit down about to meditate, and what I like to call the gorilla up in my brain is having a tennis match with my thoughts and knocking them around back and forth, and they're bouncing all over. And it's like I'm thinking all of them at once. And if I'm somehow imagining a list, it doesn't seem to be imagined in a particular order, but there's like 1,000 things I want to get done, and they're all fighting for the same amount of attention, or the gorilla is demanding that type of attention from me. So I'll get hung up on one thought, and then I'll be, oh nope, we got to think about the next thing. And the other day I brought this up, that typically humans, just male and female, have at least 50,000 thoughts a day going through their mind. You can look that up. I feel like I'm quoting that about right. So it's very difficult to tackle 1,000 of these 50,000 thoughts. Very difficult to tackle maybe 100 of these thoughts in one day with enough intention behind it to actually move forward on that thought. And now another thing. That's the basis of the overwhelming thing and anxiety, I think, in my life. I'll start thinking all that stuff, whatever it is. It's usually inane, not very important things. And I would say it's something like I need to wash the cat. I don't wash my cats, but it feels like there's a compulsion to do something like that. As I'm sitting down or as I'm actively meditating, those kind of thoughts come in. I don't have time to be sitting here doing nothing. And that's just it. Sitting down to do nothing isn't actually doing nothing. It's doing something productive in a way that these thoughts bouncing around back and forth. During my meditation time, not one of those need to be addressed and looked at and disassembled and analyzed and put in a priority list of what I should do first thing when I get done meditating, for a very real example. None of that should be happening. Or the whole point of sitting there doing nothing is to just be aware of these thoughts, and even before you even get hooked into the thought, a brand new thought will push it out of the way, demanding your attention again. And another, and another, and another. A constant bombardment of new thoughts, or the same old thoughts coming back, demanding your attention. And those things can get overwhelming and anxiety provoking. And a big danger in that for myself is I can't get any sleep at night because all that stuff's bouncing around. This is kind of brushing up a little bit into step 10. That a good time to do this step 10 thing, which says continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. So if you're out there in the day or the night or whatever your time to be active is, and you wrong somebody somehow, maybe you give them a curt or short or insulting answer to something, or maybe you just ignore people. I don't know what it could be, but if you harm somebody and then you don't immediately or promptly, as the book says, make some effort to smooth that over by saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been that rude, maybe. That can maybe help you a long ways in being able to get to sleep that night without ruminating over and over about how you treated people during the day. And part of the problem, or the trouble with these things, what ends up happening, at least for this guy, me, Gary, is I'll start thinking maybe alcohol could fix this. It seemed to do it 20-something, or so years ago when I was drinking. Towards the end of my drinking days, that's, again, with this chronological stuff, we're just going to have to rough it. Because that's not the point. Just a very long time ago when I was drinking, it got so far out of hand, it wasn't working anymore, yet I kept doing it. It was a locked-in behavior, an addiction, a dependency, whatever you want to call alcoholism. It was wide open, hardcore, full bore, definitely a problem for me. So step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable. I certainly was there. So, over the years of getting sober, I needed some more, a new calmative, if that's a real word, something to help me remain calm. Being sober was wonderful, but my anger would get out of control. My emotions in general would get out of control. And I said the other day here that that's something we can control, our emotions, if you know how. We don't need to be taken away with the emotion. There's a choice. There's a decision there. So, I mean, for myself, if I think about a bunch of horrible military experiences that I had, it can bring me down. It can it can just really screw with my emotional state and get me anxious and paranoid and all kinds of things. Uh, and then it's like, well, I realize I brought myself back into that by thinking about it. So likewise, I can just start thinking happier, calming thoughts, and that can tend to work and lead me away from the horrible anxiety, overwhelming state into something more calm and serene. Okay, the alcohol would kind of do that automatically many years ago, like 20 years ago plus 25, 30 years ago when I began drinking. I think is an accurate statement. A little more than 30 years ago. Anyhow, I'm getting to be a very old person here. The where are we at? 15 minutes. The prayer and meditation. Seeking through prayer and meditation. Let's read that again. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, comma, as we understood him, comma, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Because very likely the monkey up here again, throwing my thoughts all over the joint, not in any kind of importance, just they all need to get done right now, is typically the climate. And then I sit down and I meditate and they're all hitting me at once. And then it starts to fade away because I have learned now that not to get attached to each individual thought and really give it any kind of priority or importance or value other than that's a thought I'm having, it's here right now, it will pass. And there's I'm pretty much a Christian, hardcore, and a preacher, Christian preacher. I'm into Jesus. Jesus is into me, that kind of thing. And I'll occasionally pepper my reading here with some Bible quotes. And one of them is, "This too shall pass." That wasn't so bad, was it? So all these thoughts happening, this too shall pass. And sure enough, one of those other 50,000 thoughts just shoved that other one out of the way, and now I'm all engaged in this thought. And okay, the point in the meditation part is to pretty much only become aware that these thoughts are happening. They don't have to get done right this minute. Just be aware that they're happening. This too shall pass. A new thought, same thing. And during the first, after years of doing this, I figured some days on a good day, within about 2 to 3 minutes, that goes away. And there isn't like a conscious thought demanding my attention. They can pop in there if I lose my concentration on nothingness in some weird way. I'm not going to give you all the mechanics right here today. I don't know if I can, even if I'm able to articulate it well enough in to explain meditation. But the point is that craziness, the overwhelming, the anxiety, all the too many stuff syndrome, the monkey throwing everything around up on, it becomes tolerable. Or let's look at step one. My life had become unmanageable and powerless. I have the power to sit there in meditation. I've got some power back. I can relax. I don't need to do all the thoughts that are hitting me, because this is meditation time. I'm meditating now. That's my time. This is some more of this self-love and self-care that yesterday's reading, I think, talked about, November 14th. And that's also gratitude, to be treating your body correctly, or better at least, than all that abuse we caused by drinking. And man, I'm going to run out of time. I don't know if I've nailed down the point yet about the prayer and the meditation making life more manageable, asking God for stuff, asking for answers to questions or a decision or some intuition, I think is what yesterday's reading was saying. And then meditating, all these thoughts bouncing around, they'll go away. This too shall pass. And you might get a sense that everything's going to be okay and it's going to work out. And not really with a super clear answer, like I need to go 13 paces this way, turn left, go 35 paces that way, and then dig, where X marks the spot. You may not get some kind of concrete, very clear directive, but a sense, typically for myself, the prayer, talking to God, and the meditation part, listening for the answer. If it doesn't happen during that meditation period, even the 40 minutes sometimes that I'm sitting there, that sets it up to become ready to receive that information or obtain that information or be able to sift through what's going on, that, oh, clearly this is maybe a really good way of trying to solve this conundrum, whatever it may be. I just heard something yesterday that is it the calm mind or the trained mind or the knowledgeable mind or something of that sense is ready for opportunity. So, okay, people say luck. There's luck that happens. And that's a fine word. People understand what we're talking about. Oh, I went over 20 minutes. This thing's going to cut me off. I'm sorry. I got to finish here. Thank you and goodbye.